Welcome to the Bringing Up Business podcast, where we talk about business and parenting. Whether you have an idea for a business, you're planning a family, you're stepping into the upper echelons of business leadership, or you want to overall level up your existing situation, our goal with this show is to empower you with more confidence. I am your host, Kayla Sachet, toddler mom and owner of a marketing and creative agency called Umari Digital. Umari Digital supports business owners with form and function, from branding to websites to marketing campaigns. Today, we have the honor of learning from Bri from Somerled. Somerled uses market research and data analysis to design short-term rentals that surpass the competition and maximize cash flow. Bri and Jordan, the co-founders, have combined their experience in STR investing, marketing strategy, and professional design, and they have implemented design strategies for a whopping 700 properties. That's so impressive. With results that are even more impressive, they drive an average 30 to 50% increase in revenue. Just insane. Like, imagine having a short-term rental and then all of a sudden you're making 30 to 50% more because you've worked with Somerled. Just incredible. We will also get to know Bri's parenting journey and what that has looked like while taking the helm at Somerled. Bri, I'm so excited to get to hang out with you, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kayla. I am so excited to be here. I love this concept of business ownership and talking about parenting and how those two are very intense, but you can do it together. And I'm not perfect. No one's perfect at it, but I'm so excited to share my journey and kind of where I'm at today with it.
Yeah. See, it's like, it's that part. It's trying to steer away from this unattainable idea of perfection in both business and parenting, and like having to juggle it all, especially as women too. Like, we have so much pressure, and that's the goal of this show, is to try to relieve that pressure and just share simple advice, simple tips, while also inspiring and showing, hey, it is possible to do both.
Yeah. I love that, because there's also not like one road for everybody. There's going to be different routes, and depending on your situation, depending on, your partner, all these different factors. And so I love that it's just tips and tricks, and it's like, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not perfect.
Yes.
But yeah, excited just to talk about what has worked, what I'm still trying to figure out, and all the above.
I'm so excited to learn from you. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into how you met Jordan, because Jordan is also the co-founder of Somerled. You two are the foundation of this business. So how did you two meet, and what prompted you to start the business?
Yeah, great question. So things came about very organically for Somerled. We didn't know that we wanted to start this business until we were really actually doing it. And then we're like, maybe we should start a business. So, I'm going to back up many years to kind of the beginning of the entrepreneurship journey. So my husband and I, we got married pretty young. We met our freshman year of college, and that's actually where we met Jordan's husband too. So really, relationships go back to 18 years old.
Wow.
We're freshmen in the dorms. My husband and I dated for 3 years, and at the age of 21, we thought we were so mature and let's go ahead and get married.
Whoa.
So we got married at 21, and like, we had dated for 3 years. We knew we wanted to be together, and it's worked out. It was kind of crazy. Now looking at 21-year-olds, I'm like, ooh, you are still figuring out life. But what it gave us was the opportunity to grow together. And my husband and I are very interlocked in our businesses. So that's kind of a story too. But at 21, we were sophomores in college, and we both decided to drop out of college, and we went in the entrepreneurship route. I was in marketing and doing a lot of contractor work, started a little website agency. He was doing sales. And so I just grew that marketing knowledge and background kind of on my own, a little bit without a degree, but, learned as I went. And fast forward then to when, it was about 5 years into marriage, 2020, we decided to invest in short-term rentals. We had been doing long-term rentals before, and we were intrigued by the short-term rental space. We had seen some influencers out there sharing their numbers, and we're like, okay, that is pretty crazy. And, compared to what we were seeing in long-term rentals, we're like a little skeptical. We're like, can you really cash flow that much? But we decided to take the leap and jump into 2 short-term rental properties in Phoenix, Arizona. And I was really excited about it because long-term rentals are boring. There's no marketing effort needed. Like, you actually probably shouldn't spend a lot of money into the home. It's just going to be rented by a tenant. You don't need furniture, great photos or anything. But short-term rentals, I'm like, this is a different side of real estate where I saw that there really could be a big impact. And in 2020, things were heating up in the short term rental space, but still not as competitive as they are today. Year after year, more competitive. But anyways, I went in with the mindset of I'm going to treat these properties like a business. I'm going to brand them. I'm going to understand my competition. I'm going to write up a strategy for them, set myself apart from people, really just cater to an audience, not to like what I think is cute. So I wrote all this up and I created the plan, but I am not an interior designer. I love creative, but I didn't come from that background and I was like overwhelmed. I'm like, this is a lot of decisions. And so kind of going backwards, we met Jordan's husband when we were freshmen. And then once they started dating and they got married, kind of around 2020, I was introduced to Jordan. And she went the route of interior design and was designing high-end vacation rentals in Park City, Utah. And so I was like, okay, maybe I'll reach out to her. She might be able to help me here. And luckily, she said yes to helping me with the full thing. I'm been working on her weekends. And that really sparked the relationship and just like, this is so fun to work together. And she came to Phoenix and we set everything up and it was a good time. So then from there, my husband and a guy named Michael Elefante started working together in a coaching program for short-term rentals. And there were some students of theirs that needed design and they were starting to ask, okay, your properties are performing so well. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, well, kind of did it myself. And they're like, well, can you help me? So I was like, Jordan, do we want to help these people? And still she had a full-time job. But she's like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just see kind of where that goes. And so that is kind of like, the start of Somerled, where we're just helping people organically, charging them very little just to help them out and get their revenue up too. And soon we started getting more people coming our way. We had to make a decision, more so her because she had the full-time job. I was a mom and kind of on my own entrepreneurship. I didn't have many ties, but she had to make the decision if she wanted to jump in fully with me, which I tried not to pressure her. I'm like, that is a scary thing for a lot of business owners to give up that 9 to 5 and that, security. But we wanted to do that in 2022. And it's been about 3 years now with Somerled. And today we've grown in our team. We have over 60 individuals on our team and we design up to 50 projects every single month. And we're staying consistently busy and looking to just grow beyond that and kind of change the landscape of short-term rental design.
Oh my gosh, I am hearing so many things. So first of all, courage, right? Because you went from something that you knew well, which was long-term rentals, into short-term rentals. And sure, like it may sound like they're similar, but they are two very different offerings with two very different operations. And so there's that like jumping into a new world. Now, let me ask you, you decided Phoenix. Why Phoenix? I mean, were you living there or what was the decision there?
Yeah, great question. So we live in Utah and there's not many great markets in Utah. We did do our research and we're like, okay, there's Park City. Park City is extremely expensive. There's St. George, Southern Utah, which it's really hard to get permits. And then Salt Lake, there's no, permitting. And we're just like, it probably doesn't make sense. We wish we could have just stayed here and been local, but Phoenix was kind of the jump that was close enough and still a vacation market where we could operate and get a permit for a short-term rental.
That makes sense. So the logistics had to line up there. And it sounds like you did your research. You figured out what the markets could offer and how they would work for what you wanted to do. And I'm also hearing more courage because now you have properties that are a state away. So it's like that's a leap of faith too, right? Because a lot of real estate investors or non-investors who want to get into investing, they're afraid of having a property that they can't just walk down the street to and check on every 5 minutes. So yeah, that's very brave. And what I'm also hearing is how you reached out to Jordan to ask for the design help because that was something that was a component that you needed help with. Like that's brave too, right? To ask for help. Like sure, she was showing that she had that capability, but like what gave you the oomph to be able to reach out to her? I mean, was that like something that comes naturally to you, or is that something that you're practicing? Like what does asking for help look like with you?
Oh my goodness, no, I'm bad at asking for help. Like I feel like the stars aligned because that's not natural for me to ask that. Yeah, it actually was when we were setting up our properties, we bought this home in Phoenix, and because we were flexible with where we could live, just owning businesses, we moved our family down to Phoenix. We closed on the house, and I didn't really have the plan yet. We were just living there with our two kids. We had two kids at this point. It was right when we closed on the house, there was the waste management open. And my husband's a huge golfer. Parker, Jordan's husband's a huge golfer. So they came down just to visit us. Oh, see the house that we just bought and go to the Waste Management Open. So from there, I'm like, Jordan, I felt so bad. I'm like, can I pick your brain? I know you pay people to do this, but like, what do you think I should do here? And then she's the most kind person. She really just made me feel comfortable of giving me all the advice, and it wasn't stingy or kind of like she didn't have any attitude or anything. She's like, no, whatever you need. And so then I felt confident, like, well, actually, I do want to pay you, but could you come, help me with the whole house? I don't want to just mooch off of our friendship anymore and keep asking you. So yeah, that's how kind of I worked up the courage to ask. Again, stars aligned that they just came out and were there in person and to just be there.
I love that. Yeah, you said that you felt bad for asking her for help because that is something that she normally charges for. And I feel like that's a roadblock that many people get stopped at. They don't have the capital, or they're just not sure like how to pay someone in exchange for their time and their expertise. And so they just kind of give up. They don't ask for that help. But what's interesting is that people so they're more willing to offer advice than you would expect. And all it takes is just to ask, right? Because the worst thing that could happen is that they say no. That's it. That's it. And now all you have to do is just like go out into the world and find another resource, right? Which there are plenty out there. So, okay, so you start this thing, you and Jordan are like full steam ahead. The market is telling you that it loves this offering and it wants more of it. How did you decide to hire on a team, and what did that look like?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, that was hard. In a sense, what we do is a really kind of like an unscalable business. It's hard to scale. It can be done, and we've done it and are still trying to scale it. But when it's a service industry, especially design, that every design is unique. We start from scratch with our strategy and our design every single time. We're not selling templates. And so, yeah, there was manpower needed. In another life, I'll do software or something. Although I know there's hardships with software. there's cash flow things. It's all kind of, there's different pros and cons to all the things. But this one, it's like you need the people. So it was Jordan and I doing everything. We were selling, we were designing, we were going out to projects and doing project management, which was fun and adventurous. I'm a mom and I had two kids. I'm pregnant with my third, so soon to be a three. But with two kids, I mean, my husband's also very supportive. We parent pretty much 50-50. And so I was able to go out, but I knew that wasn't sustainable. It was that, and Jordan doesn't have kids, but I was very transparent with her, like the project management and going out is going to have to be the first thing that goes. So that's what we were looking towards. Okay, how can we bring on a team member to take over project management? But at the same time, we were connected with a girl named Allie, and she was our first hire. She reached out to us that she was also a short-term rental designer that was feeling burnt out. And she's like, I just want to go work for short-term rental design, not do it on my own. And she had so much knowledge about the space that she was a good fit to take over our calls because we were getting a lot of leads. We created partnerships in the beginning, first with Michael Elefante and his growing coaching program and some other property management groups and another coaching program. That was kind of like the marketing that we did in the beginning was just referrals, which is a really strong source of marketing. But Allie took our consultation calls. And so it was like that load off. And then our next hire, we did find someone for project management. And then from there, it was just growing and kind of deciding what is the cadence of design projects. Because we knew our investors, like our target audience, they want to be really clear on budget. They need to be really clear on like just all the expectations when it's going to be done, because they can't make those decisions and go through a design process that just keeps dragging on and on and on. So we knew we had to kind of structure things in a way that we could sell the service of here's a flat rate. Here's exactly when your design is going to be handed off so you can feel confident in your investment numbers and that you will start cash flowing, by X date. And so we decided to design every 2 weeks, that we started a fresh set of designs on Monday, handing them off on Friday. And then from there, it kind of snowballed into how many teams do we need? What are the team structures to scale this? And kind of where we're at now is we've figured out a good kind of rhythm where our design teams, actually our teams in general, are grouped by 5 projects. So we have a design manager and 6 designers, and then a client success manager on a team. And that's 5 projects. So every time we grow, we usually grow and open up 5 more spots and have another team in that structure. So that's kind of the way that we have scaled a really hard to scale service industry business.
Yeah. So I have to ask about the capital that's behind this, because you have to pay people. What did that look like? Is this all bootstrapped? Did you do funding? How did that look like?
Yeah. I mean, luckily, our marketing efforts, we didn't need any paid marketing for leads. And when we sell, we collect funds up front. Well, we collect a 50% deposit and then 50% at the end. So cash flow was not an issue as long as we were selling and then had the people. Of course, we do have to pay labor. That's always going to be our biggest expense as a business. But the cash flow, we didn't do any fundraising, any bootstrapping. It was just from the start, because it was Jordan and I too. Like if we didn't pay ourselves, we didn't pay ourselves. But it was that point where we felt comfortable. We did have enough cash flow that we brought on 1 team member, then 2, and kind of grew from there.
Got it. So it wasn't like, okay, I want to hit 700 properties this year. I need to hire all these people now and then hope that the sales come in. You're kind of working in a way where the market's paying you first, and then you can scale and take on more people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's talk a little bit more about referral marketing. What is that? What does it look like? How can somebody do that for their own business?
Yeah, I mean, I think we tried in the beginning, we figured out, what are the hot buttons for first, like the investors that we're selling. And on our consultation calls, we don't just sell we don't sell design in the sense of like, we're great designers. It's going to look so cute and so pretty and you'll love it and blah, blah, blah. It's not so much emotional that they care about it looking good. They care about the returns. And so we created a consultation that was very much, here's an analysis, an investment analysis, and showing you that if you're an average property and not investing in design and you don't have great amenities, you're going to fall in the average range. And here will be, you're going to invest less, like you won't buy a hot tub maybe, and you won't have as much cost in furnishings because you're doing the bare minimum. But here's what your return will look like versus if you do up your investment and you add a hot tub and you add a sauna, whatever the market warrants, and you're investing more in furnishing and a design fee, you'll get to the 75th percentile at least in your market. Our clients are usually in the 90th percentile or above, but showing them those numbers. So that's how we sold the, direct consumer. But then with our referral marketing, we had to figure out how it benefits them too. So management companies made a lot of sense because they make their money on revenue. They usually take like 20 to 30% of the revenue. And so showing them that not only will we convince the clients for you that design's important, because that takes a lot of times. A lot of property management companies will have those conversations with their owners, like, we need to go in and redesign it, but that's time consuming and we can do the convincing for you, and their property is going to increase in revenue, which is going to make you more money. And then on top of it, we'll give you a referral fee. And it feels a lot like a no-brainer. And just depending. So that's kind of our pitch then to the referrals. Same for coaching programs. Like your students are going to have way more success and want to renew or want to refer you out if their properties are performing well. Because if you have an underperforming property, they're going to be up your ear more of, help me, it's not working, I'm freaking out. Yeah, so it's just a benefit. We needed to find those wins all around.
I love that. I love the idea of creating business deals that are that win-win, because sometimes a business owner can get stuck in the what's in it for me mentality. And to be frank, that just doesn't work, or that can only work for so long before people are like, hey, well, wait a second, I'm getting shortchanged. It's important to find that win-win. And I can also see a little bit of social proof going on too in the referral marketing, where if someone is being led to you, they're being led by somebody that they trust. And so they are more likely to trust you more. And that's
Yeah.
going to help support the sale. And I also love how your sales approach is very tactical, logical. It's saying like, look, these are the actual numbers for what you want to invest versus what your predicted output is going to be. So let me ask you, how do you find those predicted output numbers? Like, where do those come from?
Yeah. Luckily, there's a lot of data because you have Airbnb and Verbo where the data is out there. Their nightly rates are posted. So there's a platform called AirDNA that scrapes all that information, and it's an analyzer for short-term rental investors to use. So we go in and we go to a specific market. We filter out bad comps. Like, let's say you're in a beach market and the investor's property is not beachfront. We don't want to compare it to beachfront properties because that's like something that we can't control. So we filter out bad comps and get a good size group of comps. And then from there, AirDNA does put them into categories. We go at least 2 years and it'll show you the different percentiles. So we have our own spreadsheet and an investment analysis, but we download the data and take averages. Okay, if you're in the 50th percentile, here's your average daily rate, how much you're charging, and then here's your occupancy rate. So then you go 365 days a year, times that by the occupancy rate. So that's how many days they're getting booked, times that by the daily rate, and then you're getting their revenue. So that's how we're looking at the numbers for the 50th percentile. Then we do the same thing and say the 75th percentile is conservative, that you'll at least get there. There are other factors than just design. You need to be a good property manager. You need to have a clean home and good reviews. So we can't control those, but 75th percentile is still very safe. You'll usually get above that if you have a good strategy and are branding your property in great design.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense. So a lot of business owners get stuck at charging enough, right? You'd mentioned at the beginning of your journey, you were just trying to help people and you were charging bare minimum. I get that. And a lot of people can get stuck there though. And over time, they look back, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not making anything from this business. Let me just scrap the whole thing and go do something else. How did you decide to change your pricing model in a way that made more sense to sustain a business?
The nice thing is we don't feel slimy in our pricing because we know they get a return. They're paying us and they're going to make more money later on. So
Yeah.
that feels really good, but we still have to make it make sense. We need to be fair for the investment. I mean, we run hundreds of investment analysis per week because we're doing all these consultation calls and making sure that in most markets, when you plug in that design fee, they're still getting a much better return on spending more because they're investing in design, investing in more furniture than if they weren't going to do it. So that was kind of our first step, was to feel good about our number, that we're not ripping people off and they're going to make more. Our design service will get paid back within 2 to 4 months is our goal. And then from there, you're just off to the races. But then we had to run, some in-depth analysis of payroll and expenses and make sure we're covered there and our profit margin is healthy.
Yeah, that's extremely important. You bring up a fantastic point. You have to look at your financials to know that you are continuing to run a healthy business. Who is the watchdog for your company in that? Like what type of measurements are you looking at to make sure that your financials are healthy? Like what does that look like?
Yeah. Right now, I am the watchdog, but we are looking to offload that to actually today. I had a final interview with a fractional CFO, and
Yes.
should be bringing somebody on soon. I probably should have done it a lot sooner, but we are, I mean, keeping up with the books is so important to be up to date, current. And our standard is that by the second week of the month, the past month is done and good to go. We have in those first 2 weeks a few questions that our bookkeeper may have or still reconciling some accounts, but then we're always reviewing the month before. And we do have metrics. It's more like our customized chart of accounts that we're like, okay, labor cost and service fees, and how does that profit margin work? Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've kind of created a tailored system, but I'm not a financial expert. So I'm excited to be leveled up by a fractional CFO. I think what I've been doing works, but there's more insight and strategy to be had.
Yeah, no, I love that. That is so common, and it's understandable for a business owner to DIY as much as possible until you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm overextended. The business can no longer scale. I have to bring in outside help. So, for example, like the books, you have a bookkeeper to help you with that. Now it's time to bring in a fractional CFO to help oversee the books, right? The bookkeeper's still doing bookkeeper stuff, but the fractional CFO is looking at the final reports and saying, hey, healthy, not healthy, here's a red flag. Oh, this is all good. For the listener who doesn't know what a fractional CFO is, what is a fractional CFO? What do they do?
So fractional CFO is more on the strategy side of finance. So if you had an internal CFO, which that would be great too, but we're kind of in this growth phase where it probably doesn't make sense to have that person in-house. So fractional CFO is a consultant and they take on a few clients, but yes, they're looking at the number story and they are helping set those goals and metrics and tracking. And they work closely with the owners typically to say exactly what you said. The flags, they're looking to the past and making sure we're healthy for the future, but also looking for opportunities to grow or maybe opportunities to combine roles or look at your payroll. What we're interested right now in our fractional CFO, and we ran interviews with a few companies, is looking for somebody who can bring in other revenue streams because we've been so focused on growing this service, which it's a lot of operations. It was a lot for the past 3 years to grow it to where it is today. But now we have in a given year over 500 clients. How can we add new revenue streams to that through software, through products, through other things that will, one, help diversify our revenue, but also increase the value of our business? So we're looking for that strategic partner in a fractional CFO.
Absolutely brilliant. I love it. And now a quick message from our sponsor. If you've ever played golf, you know that it's more than just a game, it's a statement. Omnix Golf is providing golfers a bold new way to express themselves on and off the course. Their premium golf bags and accessories combine top-tier functionality with standout style, empowering you to bring personality to your play. Whether you're aiming for a clean, classic look, like my Omnix golf bag, or you're looking for something that turns heads at the tee box, Omnix has you covered with gear that's as unique as your fashion. Designed for performance and built to last, every Omnix golf product reflects their commitment to quality, innovation, and individuality with unmatched, unrestrained, and vividly bold golf bags. If you're ready to elevate your golf game and style, visit omnixgolfusa.com and try a new bag with their 6-month guarantee. And you can save 10% on your Omnix Golf order with coupon code BUB. That's omnixgolfusa.com, coupon code BUB. Let your gear speak for you, because at Omnix Golf, the course is your canvas. Thank you for staying with us, and back to the show. So, switching gears, you mentioned how in the early years you had been working with your husband, managing the long-term rentals, eventually the short-term rentals. How does somebody work with their spouse?
Somerled is my biggest focus. Like I spend a lot of my 9 to 5 in Somerled, but we have our portfolio, which is our other business. My husband and I still run together. So we are at 32 short-term rental properties now and continuing to grow. We set up about 2 new properties per month in our portfolio, and it's called West Properties. So we have that together, but I think we have figured out a good rhythm. And we're very different, but in a good way where it balances in their strengths. So my husband is, I call him the sprinter. He's the big ideas guy and the big just get it started guy. I am like the operational, like long runner. And so we kind of work together that way. But he's helped me a lot in just feeling confident again in that kind of like initial just jump. Like there was a time when we were dating that I was working at like a Brazilian steakhouse where they come around in the meats and they shave it off and we're dating and I'd go home and I'd smell like meat and he's like, this is so gross. Like, and I hated my job. I was kind of doing some graphic design and stuff on the side. And he's like, why don't you just quit? Like he was running the numbers for me. If you just took on this many clients or you did this, you could supplement. And he's like, just do it. And I hadn't had that influence in my life before. My parents were just your typical salary. Like my dad's worked at the same company since he was 25. Anyways, so the way that we work together is really just that. But to be exact with our properties, he is the initial, like run the numbers, find the property, work with the real estate agent, work with the lender, get the deal done. And then I come in with my team. And what's nice is I do have a team behind me that does the strategy and the design and the project management. I oversee a bit just because I want to make sure like it's got our flair and it's really the best of the best, but my team does 99% of that. So I'm like the middle sandwich. And then he has some employees that he manages for property management on the back end. We self-manage technically, but we have employees now that we are under us to really do the messaging. Neither of us are able to message guests at this point. So we're kind of a little sandwich. I think really the strategy that we have is work together, but separate, like have our separate responsibilities and just trust each other in our own realms and then just pass it off to the other person. Then it kind of goes back to him.
You sharing that totally reminds me of how my husband and I also operate. We each do our own sides of the business. So, I own Umari Digital, but he and I own together a separate manufacturing business. And in the early days of that, we both found ourselves doing the sales, doing the graphic design, like doing all of the things. It was so squishy, like having to like work around each other. And we got to a point where like, okay, we have to segment and call out the responsibilities that each of us is responsible for. That helped tremendously. So it's like each person stays in their own lane. That's how we're able to like keep the engine running and keep everybody at peace without, I don't know, there's something like, I think there's maybe like a comfort level that I have with him where I'm able to express fully how I feel about something. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's like no diplomacy. So it's like, okay, yeah, we're all in our own lane. So, okay, which came first for you? I have to ask, business or babies?
Oh my gosh, good question. Well, because I started some business actually, but not business together. I was doing some graphic design work, then I developed it into more of website design and development, and he was doing sales and running a sales team. So that was in our early 20s and that's why we decided to quit college. We're like, we're good. We don't need 2 more years of college. We don't need these degrees. I don't know. I'm not saying that's advice. That's not my advice. That's just what we decided to do. And it
I
has
did the
worked.
same thing, if it's fair. Like I did not finish my degree. I was like, let me just go try out the world and see if there's success. But yeah,
I'm
anyway.
like, the real life experience, I was a better option. So that was 20, let's see, like before we got married, 20, 21, and then we had kids at 23. And so the kids 23 and my 2 daughters are 16 months apart. So it was 23 and 24 that we had kids.
Did you have any fears stepping into motherhood, into parenthood as, as a team, you and your husband? Like what bubbled up for you, if anything?
Yeah. I mean, I think we were young and naive and that helped just to be like, well, here's a new adventure. Now we're pregnant with our third and like we were a lot more thoughtful about it and we really need to plan and prep and have a good situation. Yeah, I guess my fears weren't so much work related because I I didn't have employees. Like I didn't have a team. It was just me doing work for some businesses. I'm like, I can scale that back. I can kind of control that time. Now going into my third with this entire company and team, it's like, I don't really have a choice to scale back. I'm not going to scale back. I have to keep it at capacity and hit some of our growth goals in Q4. So that is a little bit different.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that maybe feeling a little overwhelming or, it's a lot to there could be a little bit of pressure there. What is your plan for maternity leave and giving yourself that time with your newborn and that healing time too?
Yeah, I've had to write up the whole plan recently. So I'm due like mid-September. It's coming up in like a month and a half now. So yeah, the full plan is written and given to our team. Also my plan with my kids written and given to my mom and my nanny. But here's kind of the short version of it. So I will have a C-section because I had C-sections with my first two. They both were breech. And so that will be a thing in recovery, like you said, needs to be accounted for. So, I mean, what kind of scares me is there's variables I can't control. Like, what if the baby is born early or has my second had to go to the NICU? And so, what if that happens? Or what if my body isn't healing well? So, I'm trying to be flexible. But let's say we have a great C-section, the baby goes home on time. I'm recovering. I am doing a nobody talked to me for 2 weeks. Nobody
Yes.
talked to me and everything's delegated. I do have an executive assistant, which is phenomenal, and she'll be in my inbox, even though I'll still have a message that goes out letting people know I'm out. But she'll still be managing things. And then my business partner, our directors, our COO, they've got it. After 2 weeks, I will honestly go a bit crazy if I'm just watching TV because we have a nanny who will take care of our kids and our kids will be back in school as well. So I'm going to be here in my basement. I have a basement office and living room set up and little kitchenette. And it's either for me, I'm like, watch TV or just work on some projects like that I wanted to get to with business. So my plan is to jump back into projects, but not like put too much pressure on myself. Just be like, this is nice. I'm not in meetings. I don't have to respond to people and I can just sit down and focus and work. And I'll do that for about a month and then kind of evaluate, do I start picking up some internal calls and meetings and things? So yeah, kind of
Yeah,
different.
yeah. I'm hearing a few things. So it sounds like you have your villages set up, right? You've got
Mhm.
your home base, you have your nanny. School is also part of that village to help take care of your two older children. So that's going to be holding down the fort at home. And then with work, you have your executive assistant and then everybody else who just understands like you are not to be contacted for the first 2 weeks. And then you're gonna have that month of flexible play it out time, and then after that you're just going to touch base and figure out how you want to spend the rest of and move on with the rest of your business. It's I had a very similar plan. I actually had a note on my door for the first I think it was the first couple weeks where it was like, look, don't knock unless you have like a broom in your hand or you're ready to like wash dishes or you have food. Like if you're not here to help, like I don't want any outside anything. And then I had a 3-month plan of being out of work. I could only last 2 months, which was like the bare edge. Like that was the final edge. Like I was going crazy without doing what I love to do. So yeah, like I love your
Really.
approach of like staying flexible, honoring yourself, and also having that backup team. That's really cool. And so
Yeah.
is your husband going to be taking leave too? Like what does that look like? Is he just going to keep working?
Yeah, no, he will too, especially during hospital visit and the first 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks were both just off. I think he'll probably jump back into things sooner, but still be hanging out, getting the newborn snuggles, being here with me as well. Um, yeah. And it's just a message like we both work and provide, like, you know, I don't want to say equally because we're entrepreneurs and all over the place, but like we both provide there. And then in the home too, we kind of have found our good segments. So he is our cook. I like food, but he loves food and he has a passion for learning new recipes and trying new things and grilling and all this stuff. So he makes dinner every night, which is great. So I'm like, I'm not worrying about cooking and putting our kids to bed and stuff. He's good at as well. So he's going to really step it up because there's newborn things. And I'm like, Hopefully breastfeeding will go well. That's another unknown with each baby. It could go well in your past, but then with a new baby, maybe they're not like great at like, breastfeeding. So anyways, since I will have to be so much more focused on the baby, he definitely is planning to kind of step up that ratio with the other kids.
That's awesome. That would be so helpful too. And I love how you mentioned how each kid is different. Each baby is different because that's real. That's real. And that by expecting your second born and your third born and so on to be just like the others or like the other, that is unrealistic and that is setting yourself up for failure, to be quite frank. I have somebody in my life who they just had their third kid. Their first two kids, super chill. Third kid, wild card. And they were not prepared for that. So it's a reality. So it sounds like you have your villages for postpartum. You also have had your villages who've supported your family while you've been running the business too, up to this point. That's fair to say?
No, it is. Our nanny started kind of when we made this shift into short-term rentals and when I was picking up Somerled more,
Yeah.
which I mean, that was a hard transition. I think people can relate to daycare or nannies or any child support that you feel that guilt. But honestly, pretty quickly for me, this was my experience. I felt like that was the best thing pretty quickly for me and for my kids because mom wasn't like working on her laptop and being like, go get your own snack, go do this. Like mom was, they had someone fully focused on them, and our nanny has been with us since the very beginning. It's just been one nanny, which is also rare and lucky at the same time. But anyway, she's been with our kids. They love her. And then when I'm off work, I'm off work. Like I am not on my computer and, doing that. It's like they get a better mom than like a working mom who's kind of like frustrated and grumpy. So yeah, that was kind of my journey, was getting the nanny and then just realizing that it is a really healthy thing for our family.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. So I like to wrap up with your dreams. What are your dreams for your family and your dreams for Somerled?
Great question. For our family, I mean, I dream of growing a wealth that helps us feel just the security for one, but also the ability to like retire. I'm going to say retire in quotes because we're not going to want to slow down and stop things, but the ability to step back. And I'm turning 30 this year, and so is my husband. And so the dream would be, working hard still in our 30s, but entering our 40s more relaxed and just like very focused with our teenage kids and then with grandkids. Since we had kids so young, we'll probably be grandparents when we're in our 50s. We'll see. But having that freedom is a big dream. I also have a dream of supporting my kids in their businesses and just being like, yes, let's do it. My kids are young, but my 6-year-old, she loves art. And right now her dream is to own an art studio and be an art teacher. And we'll see how long that lasts. But I'm like, girl, if you want to do that, when you turn 18 and you're still like, I want to own an art studio, I'm like, I want to support you in that. And let's create a brand and let's do this. So that's kind of like a dream as well, but see what they want to do when they're want to like pressure them and say, you got to be an entrepreneur and business owner. But it'd be cool if they did have like an interest in that and we could support.
That's so beautiful. Bri, where can people find you?
Hey, so we're on Instagram. That's a fun place to follow us. And because we're designed, so you see so many unique and fun short-term rental designs. We're Somerled.designs on Instagram. And then our website, if you want to reach out to us and schedule a consultation call, they're free. And that's when we go over the full investment analysis. You can go to our website at somerleddesigns.com.
Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate all of the advice that you've shared. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kayla, for having me. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you for joining us on Bringing Up Business. If you could, please take a moment to subscribe to and rate the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Instagram at bub.podcast. That's BUB.podcast. Finally, We'd love to get your feedback. If you have a comment or a guest idea, please let us know on our website, bringingupbusiness.com. Until next time, thanks for joining us. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Say bye-bye. See you later.
Bye-bye. See you later.
This recording is for informational purposes only and should not be considered business advice. Opinions expressed are as of the date of recording and are subject to change without notice. The views and opinions of guests on this program are not necessarily those of Umari Digital and its affiliates, which together we refer to as Umari Digital. Umari Digital is not affiliated with guests or their business affiliates unless otherwise stated. Umari Digital does not guarantee the accuracy or the completeness of the data presented herein. This recording is for informational purposes only, and the information, data, analysis, or opinion it includes, or their use, should not be considered business, financial, or legal advice. Umari Digital shall not be responsible for any decisions, damages, or other losses resulting from or related to the information, data, analysis, or opinions, or their use. All business decisions are subject to risk, including possible loss of capital. Individuals should seriously consider if a decision is suitable for them by referencing their own financial position. Thank you.